Heartwarming discovery. How a black cleaning lady's unexpected insight saved a CEO's life forever. Ava stepped into the bright, polished lobby of the high-rise. Her mop glided over the marble floor like a whisper. She was small but powerful, the weight of her world resting on her shoulders. Being a cleaning lady in downtown Chicago, she saw a lot of hurried lives. The hustle and bustle of corporate America filled the air, but no one noticed her a diligent African-American mother of two. Her children needed her to make ends meet, their dreams alive in her heart as she tirelessly scrubbed floors. As she worked, she often caught glimpses of Mark, the high-strung CEO, with a carefully tailored suit that belied his inner chaos. He was always rushing, fueled by an unrelenting drive that left no room for joy. Yet, beneath that polished exterior was a man gripped by anxiety and loneliness, desperate for something that money couldn't buy. One fateful morning, Ava's cleaning routine took a sharp turn. Mark's coffee cup tipped, sending hot liquid splattering over his expensive tie. He cursed under his breath, but his frustration morphed into vulnerability when he saw Ava quietly offering him a paper towel, her kindness cutting through his fog. For the first time, he paused. They stood there, the chaos of the world swallowing them whole. "Are you okay?" Ava asked gently, her eyes sparkling with genuine concern. In that moment, the wall Mark built around himself began to crack. He opened up, sharing a glimpse of the isolation behind his corporate facade. Stress, pressure, family troubles, he wore them all on his sleeve like a badge, and Ava listened. She talked about community, family, and how little moments mattered more than any corporate victory. "Success isn't just about money," Ava said, her steadfast resolve reflected in her warm gaze. "It's about your people, your heart. Never forget that." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks. Their unexpected encounters became the highlight of Ava's day, and a moment of clarity for Mark. He began to grasp what truly mattered. But as the corporate storm brewed a crisis no one could predict, Mark found himself torn between expectations and his brewing family troubles. His stress erupted at home, leading to heated arguments that isolated him further. One evening, with the tension thick in the air, Mark sat alone in his dark office, the weight of decisions pressing down on him like a mountain. He felt lost, haunted by Ava's words swirling in his mind. Should he prioritize his family over the company? The phone rang, an official call that could change everything, a lifeline or a final blow. Tension tightened in his chest. Would he be brave enough to embrace the love waiting for him at home? Would that be his true success? The answer hovered in the silence, leaving readers anxious for Mark's next move and desperate to discover how Ava's wisdom could illuminate the path forward. Mark's breath quickened as he reached for the phone, staring at the glowing screen, his thoughts racing. Every ounce of his energy felt like it had to shoot through the receiver, as if he could transmit the uncertainty he was wrestling with. He wanted to pick up the call and sound strong, but inside, he was unraveling. "Hello?" he finally managed, his voice more fragile than he intended. The voice on the other end was authoritative yet calm, his business partner, John. They were about to discuss a deal that could shake the foundation of their company. Words spilled from John's mouth, numbers and projections floating around Mark like confetti in a storm. But all Mark could think about was Ava's comforting presence, her unwavering belief in him. She had reminded him what mattered. "Mark? Are you there?" John's voice broke through his thoughts. "Yeah, I'm here," he said, forcing himself to focus. But what did it matter? Money? Power? It all paled next to the thought of coming home to his family shattered and resentful. He realized he was at a crossroads. "I think we should finalize the deal today," John suggested, full of enthusiasm. Mark's heart pounded. "We?" he echoed, feeling the weight of expectations clash against what he felt deep inside. "Everyone is counting on you," John persisted. "You've got to stand strong for the team. They're banking on your leadership." "Maybe we need to rethink our priorities," Mark replied abruptly, surprising even himself. Dropping the heavy corporate mask felt liberating. "We need to stop chasing empty victories." Silence hung between them, thick with disbelief. "Are you sure about this? We're on the brink of something big." "Maybe it's time to redefine what big means," Mark said, his voice steadier now. "I need to talk to my family. Call me tomorrow." He hung up and felt something shift within him. He rushed to the garage. Stepping into his car, the smell of the leather both familiar and reassuring. The drive home was more than just a route. It was a journey back to himself. As he turned the corner towards his neighborhood, the sight of his children playing in the yard brought a rush of warmth to his heart. They were laughing, chasing one another, oblivious to the adult worries weighing him down. In that moment, everything became clear. He needed to be there, truly present, not just physically, but emotionally too. "Dad!" his daughter yelled, running towards him. She threw her arms around his waist, her small frame fitting perfectly into his. It felt like a grounding embrace, a reminder of love that existed outside the corporate bubble. "Hey, sweetie," he whispered, leaning down to kiss the top of her head. "I'm home." The front door swung open, revealing his wife, Tara. Concern flickered in her eyes as she searched for signs of his distress, but he stepped inside, heart open, ready to share his day with her. "I need to talk," he said, realization flooding through him. Tara raised an eyebrow, curiosity painted on her face. Mark took a deep breath, remembering Ava's gentle smile, the way she had made him realize that being successful at home was equally important as in the office. But just as he was about to spill his heart, the doorbell rang, interrupting the moment. His stomach twisted as he wondered who could be at the door. "Who could that be?" Tara asked, glancing towards him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Mark's heart raced. Suddenly, he wondered if what he had to say would even matter now. Would more chaos come crashing in? Or was this the moment he had been waiting for, a chance to truly ignite change in his life? As his wife opened the door, the tension in the room thickened. Whatever was about to happen next could alter everything. The door swung open, and there stood a tall, older woman with warm, kind eyes. Her dark skin glistened in the evening light, and she wore a uniform that was a bit too big, but she carried it with an air of dignity. Mark caught Tara's puzzled expression, mirroring his own. "Good evening," she said with a gentle smile. "I'm here to clean your home. I hope it's not too late." Mark blinked. They had hired a cleaning service a few weeks back, but he hadn't expected anyone to show up tonight, much less at this hour. I think we might have skipped." "It's okay, honey," Tara interjected, stepping forward. "Thank you for coming. We are really glad you did. Come in." As the woman crossed the threshold, Mark caught a whiff of a familiar scent, something between lavender and lemon. It reminded him of being a kid, returning home to that feeling of safety. "Thank you, ma'am," she said, settling into the living room. "I'm Betty. I know you weren't expecting me, but I believe every home deserves love and care, no matter how small or big." Mark felt something tug at his heart. For a moment, he forgot about the corporate stress, the pressure from John, and even his own swirling doubts. He watched as Betty moved around their home, her movements slow but deliberate, almost like a ritual. "Your place has a warmth to it," she commented as she dusted the shelves. It feels loved. Mark and Tara exchanged glances, an unspoken conversation passing between them. Thanks, Tara replied, moving to help her. It's been a tough day, trying to navigate some things. Oh, I understand, Betty said, pausing to meet Mark's gaze. Sometimes, the biggest battles are fought in the quiet moments at home. Mark felt an unexpected lump in his throat. Betty's eyes sparkled with a knowing light that pierced through the chaos that had been swirling in his mind. Yeah, you could say that, he admitted. I want to make the right choices for my family. Do you now? She asked, her tone soft yet pressing, as if she were unraveling a thread in his heart. The question lingered, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Most people wouldn't have dared to challenge a CEO, but it sounded like she genuinely cared. Sometimes, the cleanest homes are the ones filled with love, not just neatness, she continued, her wisdom dripping like honey. Have you made time for love today? Mark opened his mouth to reply but faltered. How could he even answer? The mesmerizing rhythm of her words was steering him toward a realization he hadn't acknowledged. I haven't, he finally confessed, swallowing hard. I've been too busy running from one thing to the next. Betty nodded. Then maybe you are the one who needs some cleaning, huh? She chuckled lightly, and Mark couldn't help but smile for the first time that evening. Tara stepped closer, her eyes lighting up. Tell me more, Betty. What do you think we should do? Mark sensed the shift in their energy. As Betty shared her wisdom about life, love, and priorities, he felt the boundaries of the room dissolve. This wasn't just about cleaning. It was a poignant moment of connection, a wake-up call he hadn't realized he needed. But right then, Mark's phone buzzed on the table. He reached for it, his heart racing anew. Was it John, pressing for a decision? The weight of his corporate life threatened to crush the newfound clarity he held. Is that business? Betty asked, her eyes piercing his soul. Yes, he said, feeling the tug of conflicting worlds again. Then maybe it's time to mix those two worlds. Ask what matters more, she suggested, smiling knowingly. Mark's fingers hovered over the screen. Would he let another chance at connection slip away? Or would he be bold enough to embrace the messiness of life both at work and home? As he glanced back at Betty, the tension flooded back. But now it felt infused with possibility. The choice was his to make, and the answer awaited him in the silence of that moment. Would he answer the call, or would he choose to embrace the life waiting for him right there in his living room? Mark's heart raced, a fierce battle raging within him. On one side, the corporate responsibilities loomed like a dark cloud, and on the other, the radiant warmth filling the room with Betty's presence. He stared at his phone's screen, the flickering notifications begging for his attention. Each buzz felt like a chain pulling him back into his demanding world, a world where decisions weighed heavily, and time was never on his side. Do it, Tara whispered, her voice soft but insistent. She stepped closer, her hand resting gently on his arm. He could see it in her eyes, fear and hope mixed together, waiting for his move. Taking a deep breath, Mark put the phone down, choosing the stillness that surrounded him over the looming uncertainty of his job. I'm sorry, he trailed off, searching for the right words. Betty smiled, her eyes kind and understanding. It's all right, honey. Often, the hardest choices have nothing to do with numbers on a balance sheet or deadlines. That hit him hard. Had he been allowing spreadsheets to define his life? His vision blurred momentarily with the thought, but he quickly shook it off. I want to find a balance. I want both my work and my family, but it feels impossible sometimes. Sometimes, finding balance starts with a single choice, Betty said gently, continuing with her task. What would happen if you chose to fill your home with conversations that matter instead of just the sound of ringing phones? The truth resonated deep within him, a chord struck that had been dormant for far too long. He felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. What if I fail? That question slipped out, almost inaudibly. You might, she replied candidly, her voice steady. But isn't it worth the risk? What happens if you succeed? Mark held her gaze, his heart filled with the realization that true success could mean something else entirely. It wasn't just about meeting targets. It was the whirlwind of laughter, the safety of shared moments, and the comfort of being present. Tara squeezed his arm, a silent support that fortified his courage. I want us to be more connected, Mark. I want to feel like we're in this together, she said, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Feeling emboldened, Mark turned slightly toward Tara. What if I step back? What if I say no more to John and create boundaries? I have put my work before everything, even us. The silence felt heavy, but it was no longer intimidating. Instead, it felt like an invitation. Betty dusted off a shelf and smiled at them both. That sounds like a wonderful choice. Life will always throw challenges your way, but it's how you choose to navigate those challenges that defines the love you nurture. A sense of clarity washed over Mark. It was suddenly clear that he had been more afraid of missing out on opportunities at work than he had been of losing touch with the very essence of love and connection at home. This moment ignited a spark inside him, something he didn't want to extinguish. Okay, he said, his voice strong. I will start saying no more often for us. Betty's smile widened, her joy infectious. That's the spirit. Just remember, the best things in life can't be measured in profits. They fill your heart, and the heart is what makes a home. The air felt lighter, as if a gathering storm had suddenly lifted. Mark shared a knowing glance with Tara, the excitement of newfound possibilities flickered between them like firelight. But just then, Mark's phone buzzed again, rapidly lighting up like a beacon demanding his attention. The reality of his world loomed yet again, threatening to overshadow this moment of clarity. How could he juggle this new path with the expectations waiting in his inbox? Could he really break away from the grasp of corporate pressure and enjoy the life he was beginning to reclaim? As he stared at the blinking screen, a fresh wave of urgency washed over him. The choice was no longer just between the phone and his family. It was about the journey he wanted most. Would he answer the call, or would he answer the deeper longing inside him for a life filled with love and connection? Mark's heart thudded in his chest, the urgency of the moment wrapping around him like a tight coil. The phone lit up with demands, words he had become all too familiar with. He shifted his gaze back to Tara, who was watching him with an expression that said everything. She believed in him. She wanted him to make this leap. He inhaled sharply, making a choice that felt monumental. Maybe it's time for the CEO to shift gears, he murmured more to himself than to the others. No more folding under pressure, he added, meeting Tara's eyes. A flicker of pride lit her face, the corners of her lips curving into a smile that told him he was on the right track. With a resolute nod, he placed the phone face down on the table, silencing the chaos for good. It was a small act, but it felt empowering. Good, said Betty, her voice warm. You've taken the first step. Now, let us talk about what really matters. They moved to the living room, the sunlight streaming through the window, casting a golden glow that made everything feel softer, more intimate. The familiar bustle of the office began to fade, replaced by the melodic laughter of Tara and Betty recalling cherished family memories. Each story wrapped around Mark like a comforting blanket, pushing back against the cold weight of corporate life. But as the stories unfolded, a faint tension lingered in the back of Mark's mind. What if this was just a brief escape? The monstrous responsibilities were still there, lurking just beyond the warmth of their conversation. Suddenly, Tara paused mid-laughter, her expression shifting. Mark, can I be honest? She began, biting her lip. I want you to know that I love you. But Mark's heart raced. but I feel often like I'm competing with your work. Like I'm second to your deadlines." Her candidness took him by surprise. He opened his mouth to reassure her, but the truth hung thick in the air, stifling his words. "You're not second," he finally managed to say, his voice catching. "That is not what I want. I never realized how much I let work consume me. How have I let it pull us apart?" Tara pulled in a breath, her emotion cracking through her brave front. "I just want us to be happy together, Mark." At that moment, it clicked for him. His work had betrayed their love. All those late nights and missed dinners and tea just cost him time. They de-shadowed the very essence of their relationship. He reached out, taking her hands in his. "I'm going to change that. It's a promise." Just as the words left his mouth, the doorbell rang, startling them from the intimate moment. Mark turned, puzzled. "Who could that be?" Tara asked, her brow furrowing as Mark stood to answer the door. As he swung it open, he found an unexpected sight before him, a delivery guy, holding a large box. The logo printed on the side looked all too familiar. It was from his office. "I didn't order anything," Mark said, confusion wrinkling his brow. The delivery guy shrugged, then handed him a clipboard. "Just sign here, man." "It's from your department," Mark urgent. Mark took a moment, a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. Tara was watching him, her eyes wide as he scribbled his signature. What did they need from him now? As he opened the box, they collectively leaned in, and Mark felt a chill run down his spine. Inside lay a pile of awards, press releases, and the latest project proposals, everything that had once swallowed him whole. Tara blinked, shocked, as reality crashed against his newfound resolve. What was he supposed to do with all of it? Mark's breath quickened. He could already feel the pull of that corporate world beckoning him back. He glanced at Tara, her hopeful gaze pierced through the haze. Could he truly commit to this new path, with that whole world tugging at him again? Would he let it swallow him whole once more? Mark took a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing down. Hey, what happens next? He thought, knowing he would have to confront the reality of what he had just opened. Mark stared at the contents of the box, feeling as though a ghost from his past had come back to haunt him. Awards that celebrated his successes, documents that represented his long hours, and notes that seemed to whisper reminders of the very pressure that had consumed him. The glow of Tara's encouraging smile felt dim in contrast to the oppressive weight of these memories. "What is all this?" Tara asked, her voice trembling slightly, filled with uncertainty. "They must want me to dive back in," Mark said quietly, glancing at Tara's worried expression. "It's all the stuff I was so proud of, but now it just feels heavy." The delivery guy shifted on his feet, clearly having no interest in the emotional turmoil unfolding in the doorway. "Just doing my job." "Your office really rushed this one," he said with an unceremonious shrug, before turning to leave. Tara stepped closer, gently grasping his arm. "Mark, look at all this." She motioned to the pile, her eyes wide. "These things, they once meant everything to you." He sighed, feeling the burn of her gaze. "I thought they did, but it was never about the awards. It was about proving I could do it, about climbing the ladder. Somewhere along the line, I lost sight of why I started." With each word, relief washed over him. It was almost as though shedding the burden of expectation had sparked something deep within the desire to reconnect with what truly mattered. "Maybe you can create something different," Tara suggested, a hint of hope coloring her voice. "What if you take everything you've learned, the skills you've honed, and apply them to a new purpose? Something that aligns with your values and, well, us." The thought struck him like a bolt of lightning. He could redefine success, not as a series of accolades, but as something that fulfilled him at his core. However, the fear of stepping away from the familiar was still there, tugging at him with a ferocity he hadn't expected. "But what would I even pursue?" he asked. How do I start over when I've built my whole identity on this? Tara squeezed his hand tighter, her warmth grounding him. You don't have to figure it all out today. Just think about what you love. It's okay to stumble a bit while finding your way again. You've sacrificed enough, Mark. It's time to pour yourself into what sets your heart on fire. Encouraged by her words, Mark suddenly felt the shackles loosening. There was a world beyond the corporate grind. An awareness tingled at the edge of his thoughts. He wanted to be part of something bigger, something that made a difference. We can figure this out together, Tara said, her voice steady as she watched him. What if we start brainstorming ideas? Maybe we can find a passion project that excites both of us? Mark's heart beat faster. Excitement mixed with fear, igniting a spark he thought he'd lost. What about community initiatives? Locally focused projects? He suggested, feeling the idea take shape. There are so many people who need support. Tara's eyes brightened. Exactly. What if we make a difference right here in our own backyard? Before he could get too lost in the possibilities, his phone buzzed insistently from the table, a stark reminder of the corporate world clawing at his attention once more. Is that your office? Tara asked, a flicker of tension returning to her face. He hesitated, torn between the thrill of their budding plans and the weight of expectation that loomed ever closer. I don't want to go back, he confessed, his voice steady but filled with urgency. Then don't. Tara leaned closer, her determination brushing against his uncertainty. You've got this. Just choose the path that lights you up. Mark took a moment, breathing through the noise. As he reached for the phone, his pulse quickened. The decision loomed in front of him. It was either an easy slide back or a stumble toward something new. He glanced at Tara, whose unwavering belief reignited the conviction rising within him. Would he finally choose what mattered most? As he silenced the phone for good, an idea blossomed in his mind. What if he reached out to those in his community? What if he took a chance on himself and stepped into the unknown? Let us do it, he said, his voice filled with resolve. But even as those words left his lips, there was a lingering question hanging in the air. What consequences awaited him if he fully committed to this new path? Mark locked eyes with Tara, knowing they were at a turning point, one that would reshape everything. Would he have the courage to take that leap? Could he move beyond the shadows of his past, embracing this breathtaking new future? Mark felt the weight of Tara's gaze linger in the air as they stood surrounded by the remnants of his past life, the flickering light illuminating both their faces. The buzz of his phone had faded, replaced by the silent echo of his decision. He could almost hear his heartbeat, a steady rhythm that signaled the possibility of change. Okay, community initiatives, Mark started, his voice firming, the gears of his mind shifting. Maybe we get involved with local schools, or food drives. I know there's a shelter downtown that's always looking for volunteers. Tara's face lit up, a spark of enthusiasm that added warmth to the coolness of the room. Yes. And we could work with businesses to sponsor events, create awareness. Her excitement was infectious, and he found himself leaning toward her, the connection between them sharper and clearer than ever. There was something exhilarating about the direction their conversation took. They began bouncing ideas off each other, turning dreams into plans. Mark felt like a kid again, filled with possibility and hope. For the first time in ages, he wasn't just surviving. He was ready to live. As they spoke, Mark's thoughts drifted towards those moments in his corporate life when he had sacrificed too much for too little. The long nights, the missed family dinners, the friendships that faded, all in pursuit of a vague promise of success that had turned to hollow echoes. Do you remember when we volunteered at that cleanup event last year? Tara asked, her eyes glinting with nostalgia. You were so passionate about it. You couldn't stop talking to everyone, telling them how important the community was. Mark chuckled softly, the memory flooding back. He recalled the enthusiasm he felt mingling with locals and sharing stories. That spark had been buried under years of office walls and polished floors. "Maybe that's where we start," he suggested, his words coming alive. "Let us plan a community cleanup. We'll get friends involved, reach out to local businesses for help. Let us make it a big event." "Absolutely," Tara agreed. "We can create a Facebook event, get the word out, bring the community together." Imagine seeing all the faces, the excitement, her enthusiasm wrapped around him, feeling like a promise of brightness for the future. Mark caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror across the room. His expression had shifted, lines that once etched fatigue on his brow had softened, replaced by a semblance of hope. There was clarity in this new purpose, an energy that surged through him. As they drafted plans, a thought fluttered in Mark's mind. They could create lasting impact, build connections, a ripple effect of kindness and change in a world that often felt detached. But he also sensed a daunting challenge ahead. Would the community rally? Would they be able to inspire others as she had inspired him? After hours of brainstorming, his phone buzzed again, a reminder of the corporate world calling him back. Tara glanced at the screen, her heart racing just as his did. In that moment, he knew their conversation was more than just ideas. It was a lifeline for both of them. "What if we shared our journey as we go?" Mark proposed, a new excitement slicing through his uncertainty. "A blog or social media, documenting our progress, capturing the real moments." Tara's eyes widened. "That could inspire others." "You're onto something. We can bring our community along, show them it's okay to step away from the conventional paths." With each idea that bubbled up from their conversation, Mark felt the urgency of creation, the impactful journey they could forge together. But as he thought about putting his life out there, a recent fear crept in. What if, in sharing vulnerable moments, they faced criticism? Would they be met with resistance? Mark took a deep breath, glancing at Tara, who smiled back at him with unwavering faith. "We'll take it one step at a time," he reassured himself, fortified by her strength. Together. But just then, as he reached for the notepad to jot down their ideas, another thought crept into his mind. What if they encountered obstacles they couldn't overcome? Would they falter, or would they rise even stronger? He looked at Tara, heart racing with excitement and fear. At that moment, he realized he was standing at the edge of a new path, ready to dive into an unknown horizon. Would bravery lead them into a community that thrived? Or would it reveal hidden challenges that would test their resolve? Mark and Tara stood among the scattered papers and notes, the air thick with possibility. The clutter of the room faded away as their focus sharpened on the vision they were crafting. Mark felt a nervous excitement building, a mix of hope and apprehension swirling together. "I think we need a name for our initiative," Tara suggested, her fingers toying with a pen. "Something that really captures what we want to do. Maybe something like Community Connect?" Mark offered, but it felt flat. They needed more, something that evoked change, warmth, and togetherness. "Let us brainstorm a little more," Tara encouraged, her enthusiasm pulling him back in. He glanced at her, feeling an odd rush of gratitude. It was her belief that kindled a fire inside him. She was more than just a partner in this. She was a mirror, reflecting a version of himself he thought he'd lost. Minutes morphed into hours as they tossed around ideas for everything from catchy slogans to detailed plans. Laughter punctuated their brainstorming sessions. An unexpected excitement filled the space. As the night deepened, they laid out a vision that felt almost electric, a pathway illuminated by their shared dreams. But then doubt crept back in. "What if we fail?" Mark murmured, the vulnerability of his question hanging heavy in the air. Tara paused, her eyes searching his. "What if we succeed?" She countered softly, a smile creeping onto her lips. Her confidence was a buoy in his stormy sea of uncertainties. "Yeah, but it's risky," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I mean, what if nobody shows up? What if no one cares? Tara leaned closer, her voice gentle yet firm. We can't control the outcome, Mark. All we can do is put the intention out there. People love to feel connected. It's human. She had a point, a truth that calmed his swirling thoughts. I guess you're right. People do want to belong. They want to feel like they matter. He paused, contemplating her words. Maybe this journey was exactly what he needed, a way to not only connect with the community, but with himself. What if it was possible to carve out a space where he could be authentically him, and in the process, bring others along for the ride? And even if just a small group shows up, Tara continued, that's still a start. We can build from there. Mark felt a smile breaking across his face. Okay, let us do this. Together. The next morning, with a fresh sense of determination, they set to work. The sun rose brightly, spilling golden light through the windows. As they posted their event online, Mark felt a rare thrill. This was real. But in the back of his mind loomed that familiar shadow of doubt. Would anyone really care enough to join? That evening, the weight of their work hung heavily on him. He stared at the phone, the silence deafening. Should he check for responses? Part of him wanted to hide, the fear of rejection gnawing at his gut. Tara noticed his hesitation and reached out, resting her hand on his arm. Hey, you okay? Yeah, just wondering if anyone will show up. Let us give it a few more days, she said reassuringly. People often wait until the last minute. Yet, Mark could see her own uncertainty beneath the surface. Yeah. I just wish I could feel more certain about this, he admitted, trying to mask the tremble in his voice. Tara nodded, a knowing glance exchanged. We'll navigate this together. Just remember, whatever happens, we'll find a way forward. As their eyes met, an unspoken promise lingered between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they were in this together. Sharing hopes and fears, that was already worth something. A subtle buzz interrupted their thoughts. Mark's phone lit up with notifications. His heart raced. Were they actually getting responses? With trepidation, he picked it up. But what he saw next made his heart plummet. One message stood out from the rest. It was from his former boss, a name he had vowed to leave behind. Mark, we need you to come back. Their essay project that only you can handle. His breath caught in his throat. Would he really go back to that life? Just when I thought I was ready to step into life, he murmured. Tara leaned in, her brow furrowed with concern. What is wrong? He looked back at her, torn between shadow and light. Would he slip back into the past he had fought so hard to escape? Or would he stand firm and embrace the future that lay before him? The decision hung in the air, a crossroads he had never expected to face. How many paths would he truly dare explore? Mark felt the weight of his phone as if it were a brick. The message from his former boss pulsed in his mind like a siren call. Every fiber of his being screamed against it. This was everything he had tried to leave behind: the late nights, the endless demands, the inescapable pressure. And yet, here it was, an offer that felt both tantalizing and suffocating. Tara watched him, her eyes unwavering as if searching his soul. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I just got a message from my old job, he said slowly, fighting to keep his voice steady. They want me back. Back? Tara echoed, her brow furrowing deeper. But you're trying to create something new, something meaningful. I know, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. But what if this is the security I need? What if I can manage both? Can you? She asked. Her voice was soft but firm. You're not just looking for a way to pay the bills, Mark. You're looking to build a community. It's a lifeline. Mark looked away, staring at the clutter on the floor, but all he could see were the familiar gray walls of his past. I've never felt like I fit there anyway. I thought I was finally free. His words trailed off, lost in the chaos of his thoughts. What if you could take what you've learned and apply it to this new venture? The community initiative could thrive if you pour all your energy into it. Her optimism was warm, wrapping around him like a reassuring embrace. But contrast loomed. His mind felt like a battleground. The thrill of reigniting his career versus the promise of new beginnings. Could he really have both? How do you know it won't just become another job? Because this time, you're the one in the driver's seat, Tara said gently. You're not following someone else's vision. You're creating your own. Her words ignited a flicker of hope within him. Mark glanced at the layout they had designed together, the passion they had built in that tiny room. He remembered the laughter, the brainstorming, the connection they'd forged. Could he really walk away from that? Just then, the phone buzzed again, another notification. Heart racing, he flipped it over, half expecting bad news, but instead finding a comment on his event post. I think this is a great idea. Count me in. A wave of emotion crashed over him. One person, just one, was interested. That feeling started to grow, a seed of validation breaking through the layers of doubt. Tara leaned closer, her enthusiasm lighting up her eyes as she read over his shoulder. See? You're already making an impact. Mark felt a twinge of something potent possibility. Maybe I should just focus on this, see where it leads. Yes. Tara beamed, the joy radiating from her. That's the spirit. You're not alone, remember? But what if he hesitated, the weight of responsibility creeping back in? Tara interjected, what if you let go of that fear? What if you lean into that fear instead? Look at it and say, I'm going to make it through this, no matter what. For the first time in a long time, Mark felt the grip of doubt begin to loosen. The journey ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but each moment of courage could weave a thread into something beautiful, something that mattered. The room around them buzzed with energy, a living testament to what they were trying to create. Mark's heart raced. He couldn't turn back now, not when change was finally within reach. But then, as he turned back to the phone, a lingering question remained. Could he truly risk the past for this hopeful present? The echoes of his old life still rang in his ears. Would a single tentative step be enough to bridge the gap, or would he be dragged back into the darkness he was desperately trying to escape? Mark took a deep breath, and the world felt like it was holding its breath with him. What lay ahead was uncharted, but for the first time, his heart stirred with a sense of adventure. Something was calling him forward, and he could either answer it or let it fade away. As silence enveloped them again, his pulse quickened with anticipation. What choice would he make? Would he step into the light or retreat into the familiar shadows? Mark stood in that quiet moment, heart raced, adrenaline coursing through him like a wild river. The voices from his past mingled with the bright possibilities of his future. Tara's unwavering belief wrapped around him, bolstering his courage. I can't go back, he finally whispered, breaking free from the chains of doubt that had gripped him for so long. Her eyes widened softly with admiration. That's it, Mark. This is your chance. Let us take this leap together. He felt a renewed vigor pulse within. The weight of the old job began to feel lighter, as if a cloud that had darkened his sky was slowly evaporating. In that room filled with laughter and dreams, Mark felt himself emerging a more authentic self. Without hesitating, he opened the message from his old boss one last time, letting his thumb hover over the reply button. He felt the weight of expectation press down, but then he thought of the community event, of laughter, love, and the conversations that mattered more than anything those awards could provide. I'm done being someone else's puppet, he murmured to himself. Tara rested a hand on his shoulder, her warm touch sparking a flame of determination deep inside him. Let us focus on what matters, our vision, our community. Are you ready? His heart surged at the thought. For too long, he had been sucked into the whirlwind of expectations, chasing others' dreams while neglecting his own. Now, under the amber light of their living room, he felt alive, fueled by possibility. Taking a deep breath, he replied to the old message. "Thank you for the offer, but I'm moving on to new projects that align better with my values." He hit send and let go, surrendering that heavy part of his past once and for all. The vibrant thrum in the air around him shifted as he envisioned their future. "Let us set a date for that event," Mark declared, his voice steadier than ever before. "Next month. We'll fill this place with people who want to make a difference, who believe in community." Tara's smile was radiant, reflecting the light of hope stirring in them both. "I can start designing banners and reaching out to local vendors." Excitement bubbled between them, a newfound energy blossoming into plans and hopes. They envisioned the event, families gathering, laughter echoing through parks, and hands joining together in acts of kindness. Days turned into installations of dreams. They rallied local businesses, enlisted volunteers, and even organized educational workshops to share ideas with the community. The day of the event finally arrived. The sun shone brightly, casting golden rays over the park where they had set up. Colorful banners billowed in the crisp air, laughter bounced against the trees, and the warmth of connection enveloped everyone present. Mark stood at the forefront, taking it all in. His heart swelled as he watched families embrace the spirit of collaboration. The children's laughter mixed with delighted chatter hung in the air like a melody, a beautiful harmony of community coming alive. Tara stood beside him, beaming with pride, tears glistening in her eyes. "Look what we've created," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "This isn't just a moment, it's a movement," Mark replied, his own voice thick with emotion. In the crowd, familiar faces lit up with joy, people they'd met from the neighborhood, and new friends made along the way. He spotted Ava, the cleaning lady, who had first opened his eyes to the heart of life beyond the boardroom. Her radiant smile reminded him of how far he had come, how one moment of kindness had spiraled into something larger than himself. "Hey!" Ava called, making her way through the crowd. "You've really done it, Mark. This is incredible." His heart swelled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without your words of wisdom," he replied, pulling her in for a warm embrace. Ava's laughter rang out, bright and infectious. "You made the choice to believe, and that made all the difference. Never forget it." As the sound of laughter enveloped them, Mark realized that this was not just an event, it was a revival of spirit. The connections forged here were just the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mark finally understood what success truly meant. It wasn't about accolades or the corporate grind. No, real success was found in hearts connected, communities strengthened, and joy shared. In that moment, surrounded by family, laughter, and flourishing hope, Mark embraced a new life designed by his own hands. A life infused with love, purpose, and endless possibility. So, what will you do with your moment of choice? Don't wait, be the change you want to see. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share.